Ever heard the sound of fins flapping on pavement? No. That's probably because fish haven't figured out how to lace up running shoes. Yet. But what if they did? What if one day you saw a goldfish darting past you on the sidewalk, giving you a smug look as it outpaced you? Sounds absurd, doesn't it? Yet, the idea of walking fish is more than just a hilarious mental image. It's a portal into some of the wildest what-if scenarios science and imagination can conjure. From evolutionary gymnastics to ecological pandemonium, and even philosophical ponderings about the limits of nature, this thought experiment isn't just a joke. It's an exploration of how life might stretch, twist, and surprise us in ways we never expected. Let's take a step, or a fin flop, into this crazy alternate reality. Here's the kicker. Some fish are already halfway there. Meet the mudskippers, those slippery overachievers who can hop, crawl, and generally make a mockery of what it means to be a fish. These creatures live a double life, splitting their time between water and land. Then there's the lungfish, an evolutionary oddball that breathes air like it's auditioning to be a land mammal. Nature, it seems, is already dabbling with the idea of walking fish. But what would it take for fish to go full land mode? Imagine millions of years of evolution where fins gradually transform into legs, gills evolve into lungs, and fish start skipping the sushi bar in favor of treehouses. Scientists speculate that such transformations are driven by necessity, whether it's escaping predators, finding new food sources, or simply evolving to survive changing environments. Now picture a gym for fish, tiny treadmills for building fin strength, yoga classes for improving land balance. Evolution could turn into a race, quite literally, as fish compete to master the art of walking. But the real kicker? These adaptations might make fish better equipped for survival than us humans. Imagine a trout outrunning you in a foot race, and then giving you the side eye as it takes your lunch money. And what about the fish's new diet? Would they develop a taste for land-based food? Worms might remain a favorite, but what if they acquired a liking for fruits, veggies, or even pizza crusts left at picnics? Evolution is as unpredictable as it is fascinating. Now let's dive into the chaos. The moment fish start walking, the balance of nature would be thrown into disarray. Predators and prey would find themselves in a bizarre role reversal. Birds, once the terror of shallow waters, would have to adapt to chasing fish on land. Meanwhile, cats, those sly hunters, might discover that their dinner is no longer floundering helplessly in a pond, but sprinting across the backyard. And what about the food chain? Entire ecosystems would need a rewrite. Rivers and lakes would lose some of their key residents, while forests and grasslands gain new ones. Imagine walking through a park only to find a bass digging a hole for its nest or a school of fish claiming a playground slide as their new habitat. The ripple effects would touch every corner of the natural world. Then there's the issue of adaptation. Walking fish might develop new survival strategies, burrowing underground, climbing trees, or even camouflaging themselves to evade predators. The animal kingdom would have to scramble to keep up with these slippery innovators. Would raccoons step up their game? Would bears find themselves losing fish dinners to clever, land-dwelling trout? Nature loves a challenge, and this scenario would provide plenty of them. All right, now picture the chaos in cities. With fish roaming the streets, urban planning would need a serious overhaul. Crosswalks might have dedicated lanes for catfish. Public fountains could double as aquatic pit stops. And let's not forget the absurdity of fish on public transport. Imagine a subway packed with commuters, and there's a trout squeezing into the last available seat. Awkward. Neighborhoods would also have to adapt. Homeowners associations would be bombarded with complaints about salmon using lawns as slip-and slides. Fish-proof fences might become the next big thing in home improvement. And your dog, it might come running to you, barking about a gang of tilapia trespassing in the backyard. The workplace wouldn't be immune to this madness. Picture goldfish accountants, meticulously calculating figures, or shark lawyers striking fear in the courtroom. Clownfish comedians could become the life of office parties. And don't even get me started on water coolers. They'd turn into literal fish tanks. For humans, the practical implications would range from hilarious to downright inconvenient. Fishing, for instance, would no longer involve sitting by the water with a rod and reel. Instead, it'd become a full-blown cardio workout. Imagine chasing a salmon through a forest, armed with a net and sheer determination. Culinary traditions would also change. Sushi chefs would face skyrocketing prices as fish become harder to catch. Meanwhile, Farmers would have to contend with cod raiding their crops and trout helping themselves to orchards. Scarecrows? Forget them. We'd need scarefish to protect our food. Even leisure activities would evolve. Fishing derbies might turn into land-based sprints, with participants competing to tag the fastest carp. And pet fish? They'd require new levels of care. Think leashes for goldfish or tiny treadmills for their daily exercise. Let's unleash our imaginations here. If fish could walk, they might form their own societies. Picture schools of fish setting up towns with aquatic-themed architecture. An underwater Starbucks on dry land? Sure, why not? What about politics? President Goldfish could run on a platform promising a worm for every dinner plate. National holidays might celebrate the Great Salmon Migration, complete with parades and festivals. Fish could even develop their own art, culture, and sports. Imagine synchronized swimming meets synchronized walking competitions. And then there's technology. Could fish invent their own gadgets to thrive on land? Water shoes, hydration packs, or even fishy fashion trends might become a reality. The possibilities are as endless as they are ridiculous. Walking fish would bring about a monumental shakeup in our environmental and climate dynamics. On the surface, it seems like a harmless what-if scenario, but when you dive deeper, the ripples of change become waves of impact. First, let's talk about their role as potential eco-heroes. Imagine fish adapting to climate change faster than we ever could. Rising sea levels? Not a problem for species that can now traverse both land and water. They could potentially fill gaps in ecosystems devastated by human activity, acting as nature's emergency backup plan. Need a quick cleanup crew for invasive algae? Enter the walking fish, munching their way to a healthier ecosystem. However, their newfound mobility could also spell disaster. Invasive species are already a headache, but walking fish would take it to a whole new level. Carp and tilapia, notorious for disrupting aquatic environments, might start infiltrating terrestrial ecosystems. They could outcompete native species for resources, leading to a cascade of ecological consequences. Imagine fields of corn overrun by trout or forests overtaken by climbing catfish. Farmers and conservationists alike would have their hands full. Then there's the question of pollution. Walking fish might inadvertently spread pollutants from one ecosystem to another. For example, fish traveling from polluted rivers could carry toxins to pristine forests or grasslands. This could disrupt delicate balances and create new environmental challenges. On a broader scale, walking fish could inspire humans to rethink their relationship with nature. If these creatures can adapt so dramatically to changing conditions, why can't we? Their resilience could serve as a wake-up call, pushing us to innovate and adapt to our rapidly changing world. But would we listen? Or would we simply see walking fish as another resource to exploit? The concept of walking fish isn't just a quirky what-if. It's a philosophical goldmine. What does it mean for evolution, for nature, and for humanity's place in the grand scheme of things? Let's dive into these deep waters. First, walking fish would challenge our understanding of evolution. For centuries, we've marveled at how life adapts to survive. But what if evolution started breaking its own rules? Fish walking on land would blur the lines between aquatic and terrestrial life, forcing us to reconsider what's possible. Could other animals follow suit? Flying octopuses? Tap-dancing turtles? The possibilities are as endless as they are mind-boggling. Then there's the question of coexistence. If fish could walk, would humans embrace them as fellow earthlings or view them as invaders? History isn't exactly filled with examples of humans welcoming new species with open arms. Walking fish might face resistance, exploitation, or even outright hostility. On the flip side, they could inspire a new era of harmony, where humans and fish collaborate to tackle global challenges. The deeper question is about limits. Walking fish would symbolize nature's ability to transcend boundaries. If fish can defy expectations, what does that say about our own potential? Could we, too, evolve in unexpected ways to meet the challenges of our time? Or are we too rigid, too stuck in our ways to learn from the natural world? And finally, there's the existential angle. Walking fish would force us to confront the fragility and adaptability of life. If something as fundamental as a fish's way of moving can change, what else might be possible? It's a humbling thought that reminds us of life's infinite capacity for surprise. So, we've journeyed through the wild and wacky world of walking fish. From their evolutionary potential to their environmental impact, their philosophical implications, and everything in between, it's clear that this isn't just a silly thought experiment. It's a window into the endless creativity of life itself. But let's bring it back to the big question. Is this world of walking fish a hilarious nightmare or an evolutionary masterpiece? The answer, of course, depends on how you look at it. For some, it's a reminder of nature's unpredictability. For others, it's a challenge to think bigger, to imagine what's possible when the rules get rewritten. As we wrap up, here's a thought to ponder. If fish can learn to walk, what's stopping us from taking our next evolutionary step, whatever that may be? Share your thoughts in the comments, and keep an eye on your goldfish. Who knows? It might just be plotting its first steps as we speak.